Was Bobby Dunbar abducted by mole people? Was he illiterate at the time of his kidnapping? If Bobby Dunbar is over there, then who's standing next to me? Stick around and you might find out the answers to these questions on this episode of Unsolved Mysteries. Solved!
Oh shit, sorry.
Welcome to the show, everybody. I am Chad Kimmons, your humble host and PhD in solving unsolved mysteries. In fact, I'm so humble that I do not mind telling you just how humble I am, which is very. And it is a Saturday, which is, as you probably know by now, is now the most mysterious day of the week instead of Thursday. And that means we have a brand new mystery coming at you hard and fast, like, I don't know, something that comes at you hard and fast. My guest today is JC. Thanks for joining me today.
I listened to a couple of episodes. I was like, this sounds really fun.
Cool. Why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself before we get into today's mystery?
You know what? I'd actually prefer not to. You could just call me JC. That's all you need to know. We're sitting here doing a lot of research. How about you do some research on me? Don't be lazy.
Well, because all I have on you is that your name is JC. And I don't know if that's... I don't know what that stands for. So.
I could tell you that it doesn't stand for Jesus Christ.
I mean, all right. If you want to remain mysterious, this is a mysteries podcast.
Yeah, baby.
Well, tell me, JC, what do you know about the disappearance of Dobby? What do you know about the disappearance of Dobby? Well, I know he was killed by Bellatrix Lestrange. That's what I know. God damn it. What do you know about the disappearance of Bobby Dunbar? Can't get over the Dobby thing, can you?
Master has given Dobby a very stiff sock that he found in his room.
Hey, it's still closed.
So upon, you said, we're going to do the case of Bobby Dunbar. I looked into it. I started obsessing over it. I'm down here in my basement. Jugs of pee I haven't left. I've been looking into it, and I thought my wife left me, and I thought, like, we're going to find this little boy. This is the point of this show. We're going to find this little boy. So I was looking into this little boy. Wife left me, and then I realized that that was in 1912. He's no longer a little boy. That actually needs
probably dead.
Yeah. So,
and just like for posterity's sake, can we stop saying I'm looking for this little boy? We don't need people thinking that I'm having pedophiles on the show.
You know what? Jesus Christ. Let me take that back. Bobby Dunbar. From what I read about Bobby Dunbar is he's 4 years old when his parents lost him at some sort of vacation spot in Louisiana. I had to look up the name. I have it pulled up here somewhere, but they were on some sort of vacation and they lost him. They lost him when he was walking back with all his brothers and some sort of family friend. But it's very interesting because their vacation spot was like in this swamp. I don't know who vacations in a swamp.
Well, it was, and we'll get to this when we get into the story and the details. It was Swayze Lake is what it's called. Mm-hmm. And it really is, like you said, it's basically just like a swampland. It's not even really a lake. But I mean, it is Louisiana, so...
It almost looks like a river from the map. It's like a really, really long and thin lake.
I didn't look at the map. Well, I guess let's go ahead and just dive right in here. So Robert Clarence, or Bobby Dunbar, was first born to Leslie and Percy Dunbar of Opelousas, Louisiana. Oh, sorry, he was the first son born to. Robert Clarence, or Bobby Dunbar, was the first son born, because the way I said it before, he was first born to these people, made it sound like I was about to go, but then he was reborn to these people, which is just paranormal.
You know what?
Nature.
Everyone stick around and listen. You're going to think that he was reborn.
God, this show is already going off the rails. So Robert Clarence, or Bobby Dunbar, was first born son of Leslie and Percy Dunbar of Opelousas, Louisiana. He was born in April of 1908, and in August of 1912, the Dunbars took a fishing trip to nearby Swayze Lake, as we said, in St. Landry Parish, Louisiana. Now, on August 23rd, while on that trip, Bobby Dunbar was playing in the water when he suddenly disappeared. Leslie and Percy Dunbar searched everywhere for their boy, but were forced to call the authorities after their search turned up nothing. The local police and eventually the state police began a statewide manhunt for the boy. They caught and dissected alligators, and this one, like, I understand why they did it, but this one makes me laugh. They threw dynamite into the lake, hoping it would eject the body from the water. Like, so I understand that they were doing it in case he was, like, sunk to the bottom or stuck on something underwater or something, but, like, did they not have boats? Could they not have just dredged the like, what if he's still alive out there somehow and they're just chucking dynamite at him?
They're ruining the environment trying to find this one little boy. They're blowing up all the fishes. They're cutting up all the crocodiles. And I'm sitting here going, where are you, Bobby? Where are you, Bobby? As I walk away in my alligator skin boots. Like,
they're blowing up alligators and shit, trying to find this kid, this little white boy. But meanwhile, a little black boy goes missing, and shit, we don't even bother looking for him. Ayo, Black Lives Matter, folks. Don't forget it. Anyway, look, that was kind of a joke, but it's not. Black Lives Matter. Yeah, none of their efforts turned up anything. They did not find a body. They did not find Bobby. Nothing. So, after an 8-month search, authorities located William Cantwell Walters. Let me try that again. William Cantwell Walters, who worked as an itinerant handyman specializing in the tuning and repairing of pianos and organs. Don't know why that's pertinent, but now you know. Walters had been traveling through Mississippi with a boy who appeared to match the description of Bobby Dunbar. Now, Walters claimed that the boy was actually Charles Bruce Anderson, generally referred to as Bruce, and that he was the son of a woman who worked for his family. He said that the boy's mother was named Julia Anderson and that she had willingly granted him custody for a short period of time to take him on this trip. Julia Anderson would later confirm this, but Walters was still arrested and authorities sent for the Dunbars to come to Mississippi in an attempt to identify the boy. Is this Bobby Dunbar, JC? What do you think? You think this is him?
Based on everything that I've read, I don't think this is Bobby Dunbar. At this point in time, when I first read it, did I think this was Bobby Dunbar? I was still up in the air. I had no idea. But then again, given the time frame, this is like 1914. This is the early 1900s,
Yeah.
Them just being like, oh, this boy looks very similar. I mean,
right.
You have to start thinking about, there's no forensics. You're just kind of going off.
I mean, yeah. I mean, where were we? I was somewhere with my niece once. She was like 2 or 3, and I had turned around to grab something, and the next thing I know, I turned back around, and she's running over to another man who looks very much like me, but not enough to be me. And I forget where I'm going with this. Anyway, she thought it was me, despite the fact I was standing right next to her. I think the point was, without some kind of forensics evidence, they can't be sure.
Exactly, because there's a lot of people that look similar. They said this kid had blonde hair, blue eyes. I mean, there's not a lot of people with blonde hair, blue eyes, but just because there's another person with blonde hair, blue eyes, doesn't mean it's the same person.
Newspaper accounts differ with regards to the initial reaction between the boy and Leslie, because one account indicated that the boy immediately shouted "mother" upon seeing her, and then they embraced. But that one apparently is almost certainly fictitious.
I believe so.
So, probably just a newspaper making shit up, like, oh yeah, and then he ran over there, and blah, 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 blah. But this does come into play later, because even though it was probably fictitious, it's kind of damning. Shit, I mean, look at today, when we're in the age of information, when all it takes is a few keystrokes to verify whether something is real or not, and people still believe things that are demonstrably false. So imagine how much worse it would have been back then.
No, I completely agree. And, this part of the story is the part that really got me kind of sitting back in my chair going, this is really weird, because the boy was lost at 4 months, or I'm sorry, 4 years. He was 4 years old, and when they found this other boy, this is like 8 months later. You're telling me, as a boy's mother, 8 months was enough time for you to pass for you not to immediately be like, that's my boy?
Yeah, and we're getting to the part that you, I think, are thinking of. It's coming up real quick here. Anyway, other newspaper accounts quote that both of the Dunbars initially had doubts as to the boy's identity, and as you were saying, it's only been 8 months, and yet this she sees, I don't know how to put it, I don't have kids, so I don't know, but I know that if my nephew or niece went missing and then I happened to see someone that kind of looked like them, I'm fairly certain that I could be like, yeah, no, that's my nephew. The one that won't stop asking 12 million questions and is kicking the doors open for no reason. That's him. That's Andrew.
And I believe the story goes on to say that the boy had a scar. He had a burn on one of his feet, and he had a scar on his big toe.
I don't think I have that part in mind. I know there was something about a birthmark, but that comes up later when the woman who was claiming to be his mother comes in.
Well, let me tell you what I think's going on right now. I think what's going on right now is, you know how when say, have you ever heard of a story when I'm trying to find the right words here? I think, just like maybe how someone might kill a goldfish accidentally and then just be like, I'll just replace it with another goldfish. My child's not going to be able to tell the difference. The father was just like, it kind of looks the same. She probably won't know.
Oh my god.
And you know what? She didn't. She wasn't sure. She was like,
Well, I mean, neither was he, though. Because, like I said, it said that they both had doubts. Regardless, there were similar contradictions in newspaper accounts about the boy's first sighting of the Dunbars' younger son, Alonzo, with one newspaper claiming, again, most likely fictitious, that the boy recognized Alonzo immediately and called him out by name and kissed him. There were other newspapers saying that he showed no sign of recognizing Alonzo. And then the next day, after bathing Bobby, Leslie said that she positively identified his moles and scars and was then certain that this was her son. So he returned to Opelousas with the Dunbars to a parade and a bunch of fanfare to celebrate his homecoming. So, nice little story wrapped up. They got their son back. Everything's good, right? Wrong.
That sounds good. Although I was selling a lot of T-shirts at that Welcome Back Home Bobby parade, so I made a lot of money off that.
I'm sorry. Do we need to have you as the topic of an episode, or because you just said that you were selling T-shirts at the parade in 1914 or 1912 or something?
No. Let's not focus on me. Let's focus on Bobby.
No. Yeah. Good deflection there. No, we're here to talk about Bobby Dunbar, not the fact that I'm a time traveler.
Whoops.
Shortly thereafter, Julia Anderson, supposedly the boy's mother, from North Carolina, she arrived to support Walter's contention that the boy was, in fact, her son, Bruce Anderson. She was unmarried, and she worked as a field hand for Walter's family. And she said that she had allowed Walters to take her son only for what was supposed to be a 2-day trip to visit one of Walter's relatives. She further stated that she had not consented for Walters to take her son for more than a few days. According to newspaper accounts, Julia Anderson was presented with 5 different boys who were all the same approximate age as her son, including the boy who had been denied or who had been claimed by the Dunbars. When the boy in question was presented, he reportedly gave no indication that he recognized her, and she asked whether he was the boy recovered, but was not, they wouldn't tell her. They didn't say yes or no. And finally, she declared that she was unsure. So
how messed up is that? How messed up is that they bring in 5 boys, you know, and it's just which one? I'm pretty sure a couple of those boys are well, I don't know if I'm this kid, but I just don't want to be an orphan anymore.
Well, here's where I'm looking at it from. Imagine that you are this kid, right? You've got 3 people claiming to be your parent, and not a goddamn one of them can pick you out of a lineup.
If you go back, that's so funny, because if you go back to the other boys, it's like you're this kid that's just like, man, all 3 of these people want me, and the other orphan boys are just like, right. Someone wants you, it's of all the problems to have.
Yeah, it's just so fucked up. Like, imagine being that kid. Like, how bad that would you up for the rest of your life. That, like, I mean, that young, you probably don't have a very good memory of who is your actual parents, probably. Especially if you've been through some kind of trauma. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, I don't know which one's my parent, but they don't know either. Nobody wants me. Like, everybody wants me, but nobody can claim me. Like, that would somebody up, man. Yeah,
you'd have it's one part identity crisis, and it's another part loneliness. Really, it's just like right. you want at that point you're not trusting anyone, and you're just like right. I don't know who to go with, because going back to when they first saw him, they said that he screamed mother, blah blah blah. I don't think that was true, because I also read another account that he just screamed. Like, he didn't say anything, he just screamed. And if that's...
Do you know these people? Ah! He just runs off. I'm going to take that as a no. I don't know. This idea is just so funny to me. Like, there's nothing inherently, ominous or menacing about the Dunbars. But it's just like, are these people your mother? Ah! And he just runs away.
It's almost like, I don't want to get conspiratorial here, but it's almost like propaganda field, because how could you have one story saying that he screamed mother and the other story saying he just screamed in general? Like, what the hell was going on? That's what we're trying to figure out.
Anyway, back to this. Upon seeing the boy again the next day, when she was allowed to undress him, Julia Anderson indicated a stronger certainty the boy was indeed her son Bruce. However, word had already spread about her failure to positively identify him on the first attempt, which is a little weird because nothing was ever said about the Dunbars not being able to identify him on their first attempt. So, or being skeptical, and this combined with the fact that the newspapers questioned her moral character in having had 3 children, mm-hmm. 2 of which had been deceased at that point, out of wedlock, led to Anderson's claims being dismissed. With no money to sustain a long court battle, Anderson returned home to North Carolina. She later came back to Louisiana for Walter's kidnapping trial to attest to his innocence and push for the court to determine that the boy was her son. And at that trial, she became acquainted with the residents of the town of Poplarville, Mississippi, many of whom had also come to proclaim Walter's innocence.
Yeah.
And the reason was that Walters and the boy had spent quite a bit of time in Poplarville during their, while they were traveling. Mm-hmm. And the community had gotten to know them pretty well. And a lot of them were actually saying that they had seen Walters with the Dunbar boy before the disappearance of, quote, Bobby Dunbar. God damn it, I almost said Dobby again. Of Bobby Dunbar.
And you know what? That's an alibi right there. But,
it is.
If I could take it back for a second to about the actual court case, they saw her kind of as an unfit mother. I mean, reasonably so, given the facts, but I actually think a better solution to the whole thing, if I could do a callback to your last episode, if I could make a biblical reference here. Have you ever heard the story of King Solomon, the 2 mothers and the baby?
Are you about to suggest that they cut the boy in half?
Yeah. I mean, that's not what happened that day. She was actually...
Long ways, vertically or horizontally?
Diagonally.
Okay, why?
Well, if we do it diagonally, we can not only give 1/2 to each of the mother, we can also circumcise him. It's all in one go.
Oh my god.
But no, the whole point is you say you cut the boy in half, or you threaten to cut the boy in half, and the mother that's like, no, just give him to the other lady, is the mother that really cares about him.
Well, I think they both care about him, they just can't tell if it's actually their son or not.
I just find that hard to believe. I mean, I think the other Dunbar, because have you heard of like mothers that have been in labor in hospitals that have lost their baby that have considered stealing another baby? I mean, it's a huge mental thing to lose your child, so young, like that. So.
I have not, but I have heard of, and I mean, this is completely different because this kid was 4. And we're talking about newborn babies. I have heard where babies got switched at birth, and like they didn't know until they were like 20 something and did a DNA test. And it's like, what? And the kid was like, "Am I adopted?" And they're like, "No, we brought you home from the hospital." Well, then why does this say I'm not your daughter? Yeah. And then they went on to do investigations and found out that they had literally been switched at birth. But again, that's a different case because we're talking about newborn children who look very, very similar. Like, to me, all babies look alike, aside from the color of their skin. Like, I'm not going to get a white baby and a black baby mixed up, but if you put 2 white babies in front of me, I'm going to be like, yeah, those are identical.
So where we're at right now is we're basically at, this seems like a huge coincidence at this point. There's nothing that points to anything. It's just a huge coincidence at this point.
Kinda. Yeah, So getting back to the Poplarville stuff, but yeah, a lot of these people said that they had seen William Walters with the child in question before, quote, Bobby Dunbar. I swear I'm not doing this for comedic effect. I just can't speak. Before Bobby Dunbar went missing. However, the court reached the determination that the boy was in fact Bobby Dunbar, and Walters was convicted of kidnapping while the boy remained in the custody of the Dunbar family and lived out the remainder of his life as Bobby Dunbar.
Do you think he was kind of like one of those like high schoolers that like peaked as like a football player, and after a certain point he was just like, it's me. I was that famous kid they got, and then people are just not caring as much anymore.
I mean, it kind of sounds like it. Yeah, it kind of sounds like he had his moment of fame when he was younger. Maybe he was popular in high school or whatever, but it kind of seems like just right out of high school he married, had some kids, and that was his life. And if he was happy with it, fine. But he does seem kind of like one of those people that like, I'm not leaving my hometown for the rest of my life.
You know what? Here's an idea. I'll disappear again.
I'll get kidnapped again, and then
at this age, no one wants my ass.
They didn't want me to begin with. They couldn't identify me.
He leaves for 3 months, comes back, and his wife's like, I can't recognize him.
she's remarried, but she's married to a dude that looks exactly like him.
And that dude is the real Bobby Dunbar. Come back to exact his revenge.
That's exactly where I was going with it. But anyway, the boy that was raised as Bobby Dunbar, he got married, he had 4 children, and he died in 1966. Now, years after his death, one of his granddaughters, Margaret Dunbar Cutright, she started to investigate these events. She was going through newspaper accounts, interviewing the children of Julia Anderson, examining notes, and evidence presented by Walter's defense attorney for the kidnapping trial. And although Cutright had initially hoped to prove that her grandfather was a Dunbar, her research ultimately led her to doubt this. So, this is, I don't think there wasn't a year tacked onto that, but like, now it's really sus. Because even somebody who wants so badly to believe years later that her grandfather was Bobby Dunbar, after doing investigations and shit, she's just like, I don't know that he really was. It
floors me, like that, because I feel like that really leaves the rest of Bobby's family in their own little identity crisis.
Right.
It's like both of my grandfathers were not my biological grandfathers, and that's the truth. That would be like, his family. They're just like, we don't know really who our grandfather is. We do, but we don't,
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, here's the real kicker, and this is why this is a mystery. In 2004, after an Associated Press reporter approached the family about the story, Bob Dunbar Jr. consented to undergoing a DNA test to resolve the issue. The results showed that Dunbar Jr. was not related by blood to his supposed cousin, the son of Alonzo Dunbar, who was the younger brother of Bobby Dunbar Sr.
Which exonerates Walter.
Yeah, completely exonerates him because this dude is not the kid that went missing. DNA test proves it. And this is why this is a mystery, because we still don't know what happened to Bobby Dunbar.
We don't. And you know what? This is a good time to bring up a small little detail that I forgot. And in the beginning, in the first 8 months when they were searching for Bobby, I read, and I don't know if you had read this or knew this, they actually brought in a psychic.
Oh, really?
This is true. I read this. I'm not making this up. They brought in a psychic, and I think this might be on the Wikipedia page. I wonder how helpful that was. I imagine the psychic was like, I see in the future there's two pasty white gentlemen, one of them's overweight, and they're talking about Bobby's case. So I don't know if they solved it or not. And that lady was referring to us, of course. But I just wanted to, I forgot to mention that, and I thought that was hilarious because between the dynamite and the cutting open every alligator, they also brought in a psychic.
Yeah, I didn't come across that in my research. That's interesting. It's funny, but it's pretty interesting. But yeah, so like, here's like that's the question: is what the happened to the actual Bobby Dunbar? Now, here are some theories, real quick. Alligators. That one was kind of discounted, or not discounted. Discounted. That one was kind of discounted because they went hunting alligators and they would cut them open looking for bits of human flesh and maybe one of them got away or something, but they're pretty sure it wasn't alligators. An actual kidnapping. This, from what I have read, is one of two theories that is the most likely, most believed, is that they turned their back.
I actually believe this one the most because I went back and, I read that,
Hold on, was that a slip up? Do we need to talk about this?
Well, see, Bobby was barefoot, from what I read. And, there was some barefoot tracks that I had read about, and I think it's completely believable because there was walkways for people there. Not just, they weren't the only family there.
Right. Well, yeah, because this was a vacation spot back then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's actually very believable that maybe he was kidnapped. Another one is that maybe he just drowned. Maybe they turned their backs, and
they would have found him. They had divers, they had dynamite.
That's why that one gets discounted a lot. Is that they were literally blowing up the lake and could not. Maybe that's why. Maybe he did. You know what? I'll get to that when we come to the solution time.
Yes.
And then of course I always have to mention, as like an honorable mention, aliens, because whenever you're dealing with something mysterious, somebody goes, "Well, it must have been aliens then." So I don't ever put very much stock in that theory, but literally all but I want to say 2 or 3 of the mysteries we've covered, one of the theories was that aliens did it.
That's absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Aliens aren't real. But there's, of course, there's always this, subterranean people that live underground.
Actually, I did ask at the beginning. Remember, I asked, was he abducted by mole people? All right, so JC, break it down for me. What actually happened to Bobby Dunbar?
I have 2 theories. I have one that seems more plausible by your reasoning, and the other one that seems more plausible probably by my reasoning. My real theory is that I think that I believe that he was kidnapped. And what's the first thing you do when you kidnap a child? You probably run away far. This is at an interesting point in time. They were looking around the area. I feel like back in that time, when I think of doing something like, from time to time, I feel like we all kind of be like, what would it be like, back then, and it's just like, there's no internet, no one has cell phones. If you did something, if you just went 3 states over, yeah, would they find you? They grab the little boy and they dart, they leave the state.
I don't run away when I kidnap children. I actually I will grab the child, walk up to their children, to their mother or their parents, look them in the eyes and go, "This is mine now." And then I turn and walk away, almost daring them to come after me because I'm a psychopath. And this is clearly all a joke, listeners. I don't abduct children. And even if I did, I wouldn't do that.
And as the mother, I'm like, that's why I came to take my child.
I was like, I thought you were going to a sexual place, and I was like, what?
No, that one's on you. That one's on you, bud. And my second theory, I can't back it up. Well, I mean, that might not seem reasonable to you, is there is a, the subterranean creatures that live underneath the earth have certain holes in which they release their waste, and that's why swamps exist, and, they probably grab Bobby Dunbar. But that's neither here nor there. Right,
the mole people that we discussed and that I mentioned in the intro.
Moles. Yeah, I would say they're mole people.
No, not necessarily. I'm not saying mole people as in they're like anthropomorphic moles. They're just mole people because they act like moles. They live underground.
I mean, what do you want me to say? When we first started, you were like, hey, let's not talk too much about conspiracy theories, and I had to throw out half my material.
I had 60 pages worth of shit, man, and I had to pare it down to one paragraph because you didn't want to go paranormal. Well, personally, okay, so here's what I think happened. I think that he drowned. Let me rephrase that. I have a PhD in solving unsolved mysteries. I know that he just drowned. The parents turned away. Bobby went a little too far out in the river, the lake, the whatever. Got his, immediately sank because it was too much for him. Got his foot stuck or something, drowned. Since they didn't dredge the lake, they just blew it up. An alligator comes along, right? Sees Bobby's body, eats him up. And then they blew up that alligator with dynamite. That's what happened. And that's why they were never able to find an alligator with human remains in its digestive tract because they had already blown it up.
You know what? As stupid as that theory sounds, as dumb as that theory sounds, that makes the most fucking sense. It literally makes the most sense.
Oh, you're going to say you're going to call me stupid on my own podcast?
No. Well, see, sometimes it's sometimes things happen by dumb luck. There is a possibility that what you just said actually happened.
I know.
I
know that's actually what happened. Again, I would like to remind everybody, especially JC here, I have a PhD in solving unsolved mysteries. There's only been one that I couldn't solve, and so it's a black mark on my PhD. And if I get 2 more within the next 6 months or something, they take away my PhD. That's how that works. But there you have it, folks. Another mystery down. The solution is that Bobby basically wandered out too far, drowned. He was eaten by an alligator, and then they blew the alligator up. So they never found him. I would like to thank JC for joining us today.
You're welcome, man. It was really fun, really fun. I read too many of these, and I have too many thoughts, and people should know these thoughts.
And is there anything that you are currently working on, Mr. JC?
That will remain an unsolved mystery. Maybe if I'm back on the show, if I have something going on. I mean, I have a lot going on.
I have a lot going on. I just don't want to tell you about it, you dick. In the meantime, if you have a mystery that you would like us to solve on the podcast, or if you want to threaten us or cyberstalk us, or whatever, you can do that with a quick email to mysteriessolvedpodcast, all one word, at gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook at Unsolved Mysteries Solved, or on Twitter at UMS_podcast. And thanks again to JC.
Yo.
And also, I just want to mention, because I haven't mentioned it in a while, if you want to support the podcast, at the moment, the best way to do that is just spread the word. While you're at it, run over to iTunes or Stitcher or wherever, leave us a 5-star rating. Anything less would be a dick move. Give us a review. And in the meantime, don't question us or you'll be put down. And we will see you next week with a brand new mystery to solve. Shut up, man. This is why I don't do these things in person.
Hey folks, Rob here from Fat, Drunk, and Stupid. And what is that, you ask? Well, aside from 3 words that describe my life, it's a podcast. We talk about food, fun, fellowship, movies, books, video games, pop culture, and much more. Also, some very interesting guests and some awesome stories, and of course, some cold beers along the way too. So look us up on Twitter at FDS Podcast 7 and look for Fat, Drunk, and Stupid wherever you find your favorite podcast. Thanks for listening.